Lesson 4C, investing, buying the dip. Buying the dip is an investment strategy where an asset is purchased every time the market takes a dip or drops in price. This strategy helps investors lower their average asset price, and you can lower it even possibly lower than with a dollar cost averaging strategy. Now with this strategy, it's a little bit more stressful and of course more time consuming than dollar cost averaging. With dollar cost averaging, you set it up once, it could take 5 or 10 minutes, and you set it and you forget it. But with buying the dip, you must always have capital on hand in order to buy the dip. If the market dips and you don't have any capital to buy it with, well then this strategy won't work. It also will require you to be actively involved in the market. You have to be able to know when there's a dip. You can't never check the price or check the charts. You have to be constantly checking to know if there's a dip. And the third reason why buying the dip could be a little bit more stressful is that the severity of the dip is never really known. You don't ever know how far the dip is going to go. Like we talked about before, nothing in trading or markets is guaranteed. You don't know when the price is going to stop falling. So that's another reason why this could be a very stressful strategy. But again, it could help you lower your average asset price lower than a dollar cost averaging strategy, because the DCA dollar cost averaging strategy is very hands-off and less stressful. Now, buying the dip could even be considered a trading strategy rather than an investment strategy. That's how hands-on you may have to be when you're doing a strategy like buy the dip. So let's take a look at some images here to show what it means by buying the dip and how it can work or even work against you. Here on the left, we've got example 1. As you can see, the market is increasing in price. So as you can see, the first buy the dip, so the market was going up, it dipped, you bought that dip. The market went up again, it dipped again, and you bought that dip. So in this scenario, you are making money, you are in profit because you're buying the dip on the way up. Now with that being said, that's going to increase your average asset price when you do that, because you bought the dip and then you bought even higher after that. So that's going to raise your asset price. Now here you were lucky because the market continued to go up and you are in profit. But this is the positive part of buying the dip. Now let's take a look at the negative part of buying the dip. Example 2, you can see we have the first dip in price. You bought the dip. The market recovered a little and dipped again, and you bought that dip. Now, yes, you're getting a much lower price, but the market continued to go down after you bought the second dip. So that means you really should have bought the dip as it was even lower. So you really don't know when the dip is going to stop. You don't know when the market's going to continue back up. Essentially, you can't predict the bottom of the market. It's very hard to do that. So this is a downside of the buy the dip strategy, because you don't actually know what the actual dip is. You could think this first one was the dip, or you could think the second dip was the dip, but it turns out the market continued to go down even further, and it could be going down even further than that. So a good strategy is really to dollar cost average, because you really don't know where the dip is going to stop, and you have to continuously have the capital to even buy the dip as the market's going down. So in the bottom left-hand corner, as evidence from the examples, buying the dip can increase your average asset price. In example 1, the market went up, but we did increase our average price, and it could be difficult to do since there is no way to know how far the dip will go. Like we just talked about example 2, the dip continued to go lower and lower and lower. We didn't know what the actual dip was and when the market was actually going to continue upwards. This is why buying the dip is a slightly harder strategy. It can decrease your average asset price, but it is a lot more stressful. I don't know if it's actually worth it to try. I think dollar cost averaging is a lot better. Again, you should do your own research on which strategy might work for you.